Have you ever wondered how far a simple act of kindness can go? Imagine one quiet afternoon. You answer the door to find your elderly neighbor standing there, looking troubled, asking for help. What starts as a small favor, something so ordinary, so harmless, can sometimes unravel into something that neither of you could ever have predicted. And in this case, what began as a moment of compassion soon transformed into a deep, emotional journey that neither Lily nor Alex could have foreseen. What happens when two people, worlds apart in age and experience, find themselves seeking the same thing: companionship? Lily, a young woman with a kind heart, never thought that helping her 60-year-old neighbor would lead to more than just lending a hand. But as the days went on, the connection between them deepened. Was it just loneliness pulling them together, or was there something more? What happens when two people struggling with their own emptiness find solace in each other's company? In the midst of a quiet, everyday life, sometimes the most unexpected bonds can form, and sometimes those bonds can carry an emotional weight so heavy that it changes everything. Today's story is a reminder that loneliness doesn't discriminate. It can affect anyone, at any time. And sometimes, the people we least expect can become the ones who fill that aching emptiness. But when the lines between kindness and something deeper blur, how do we find our way back? Or is it too late to turn away? Lily had always thought of Alex as just the friendly, quiet neighbor. As we reflect on this real-life story, subscribe and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more daily stories that need to be heard. Hit that subscribe button. And let us hear from you in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's continue. The widower who lived next door, a man whose life seemed to move in the slow, rhythmic pattern of someone who had long since retreated from the bustle of the world. Widowed for 3 years, Alex rarely ventured outside his home except to take his dog on brief walks or to pick up a few groceries. He was polite, reserved, and every time they crossed paths, he would offer a warm, if somewhat distant, smile. But Lily had always sensed something more behind that smile, something deeper, something unspoken. It wasn't until one quiet afternoon that Lily's life would be changed. Alex knocked on her door, asking for help with something simply leaky faucet that he couldn't fix on his own. At first, Lily didn't think much of it. After all, Alex had always been kind, and she'd helped him before with small favors. But that day, something in the way he looked at her told a different story. As Lily stepped inside Alex's home, she noticed the silence. It was thick, the kind of silence that only comes with a deep sadness, one that has lingered for far too long. Alex welcomed her in, and they talked as she fixed the faucet. But as the minutes passed, something unexpected happened. Alex began to speak more openly than usual, his words slowly unveiling the loneliness that had been gnawing at him for years. He spoke of his wife, how much he missed her, and how life had felt like a shadow without her. But then, his voice changed. There was a hesitation, a quiet longing in his words. And then, without warning, he confessed something that took Lily by surprise. "I've been so lonely, Lily. I haven't really connected with anyone since she passed. I've just been waiting, hoping that something would change. But I think I miss more than just company. I miss someone who understands me. And I think I might be feeling something for you." Lily froze. She hadn't expected this. She had always viewed Alex as just a friendly older mankind, yes, but nothing more. She never once thought of him in the way he was now suggesting. Yet there it was, his vulnerability laid bare before her, and for the first time she saw him not just as a neighbor, but as a man who had been quietly aching for connection. "I don't know what to say," Lily responded, her voice barely above a whisper. I wanted to help. I never meant for things to get complicated." But despite her words, Alex's confession lingered in her thoughts long after she left his house that day. As the days passed, Alex continued to reach out to Lily, always under the pretense of needing help with something around the house. But with each visit, the emotional weight between them grew heavier. Lily tried to ignore it, tried to remind herself that she was just helping a lonely man, but the truth was, she couldn't deny the shift in their relationship. Their conversations had become more personal, more intimate. Alex seemed to rely on her more and more, as if she were the only person in the world who could fill the void he had been living with for so long. Then, one evening, Alex invited her over for coffee. It was a simple gesture, one that could have been just another friendly visit. But when Lily arrived, there was a different energy in the air. Alex looked at her with a mixture of hope and longing in his eyes. He spoke softly, his words hanging in the air. "Lily, I don't want to be alone anymore. I can't keep going like this. I need someone to share my life with. And I feel like I could be that someone for you if you'd just let me." The words caught her off guard, and for a moment, she didn't know how to react. She wanted to help. She wanted to ease his loneliness. But she wasn't sure if she was prepared for this deeper connection that went beyond simple kindness. Yet, in that moment, as their gazes locked, Lily felt a pull, something she couldn't quite explain. It was more than empathy. It was a desire to give him the comfort he so desperately needed. And so, despite the hesitation she felt, despite the confusion swirling in her mind, she kissed him. In the days after that kiss, everything between them changed. What began as a simple act of compassion was now something far more complicated. Lily found herself drawn to Alex in ways she didn't expect. Their connection grew stronger, more intimate, and more emotionally charged. But there was a lingering question in her mind. Was this real, or was it just the result of two lonely people finding solace in each other's company? Despite the complexity of their bond, Lily couldn't deny the comfort she felt in Alex's presence. He offered her something she hadn't realized she was missing: companionship, understanding, and a sense of connection that made her feel less alone. But as their relationship deepened, so did the questions about what it all meant. Was it love? Or was it just the product of two people who had been starved for emotional intimacy, seeking refuge in each other's arms? I do hope you have subscribed already, as it is about to get really interesting. Neither of them knew the answer. But what they did know was that they had found something in each other that neither had ever expected, and it was something they could no longer ignore. Lily had always thought of Alex as just the friendly, quiet neighbor. He was a widower in his 60s, living alone next door. For the past few years, since his wife passed away, he had become increasingly withdrawn. At first, Lily didn't think much of it. She saw him as just a kind, older man who occasionally asked for small favors, helping with yard work or picking up groceries when he couldn't make it out on his own. He always gave her a warm smile and a polite nod when they saw each other. But lately, there was something different about him. Lily couldn't quite place it, but she began to notice a deepening sadness in his eyes, something beneath the surface. It wasn't just the usual quietness that she had grown accustomed to, but a deeper isolation, a loneliness that seemed to seep from his every word, every movement. She often caught glimpses of him through his window, sitting in the dark, alone, staring out into the yard or walking slowly down the sidewalk, his shoulders hunched. It made Lily uneasy. She couldn't help but worry. Alex had always been kind, but in recent weeks she noticed he had become even more reclusive, more withdrawn. She often wondered if he was okay. Should she offer to help more? She felt an increasing sense of empathy for him, but also an uncertainty. How far could she go? Was it her place to step in and offer more than a neighborly gesture? The tension in their interactions grew as Alex became more distant. And then, one afternoon, he showed up at her door, looking troubled. He needed help, but it wasn't with a simple task like fixing a leaky faucet or picking up groceries. There was something different about this visit, something that made Lily pause. Alex stood on her doorstep, shifting nervously from foot to foot, his face pale. "Lily," he began, his voice cracking slightly. "I'm sorry to bother you. I don't know who else to turn to." His words hung in the air, and Lily immediately sensed that this wasn't a casual request. At that moment, she realized that Alex wasn't just asking for help with a minor inconvenience. He was asking for something more. He needed someone to talk to, someone to listen to. He needed comfort. Lily felt torn. She wanted to help, but there was a discomfort in her chest, a hesitation she couldn't ignore. She knew that offering him support could open the door to something more than she was prepared for. Yet his loneliness struck a chord with her. She couldn't turn him away, especially not now. She could see the vulnerability in his eyes, and it stirred something inside her. She didn't know how far she could go or what this would mean for their relationship. But at that moment, Lily knew she couldn't leave him to suffer in silence. She invited him in, hoping that her presence, even if just for a little while, would offer him the comfort he needed. One quiet afternoon, as the sun hung low in the sky, Alex knocked on Lily's door again. It was a usual visit, nothing out of the ordinary at first glance, but something about the way he stood there, nervously shifting from foot to foot, made her pause. "Lily, I hope I'm not interrupting," Alex said, his voice slightly strained. I've got a faucet that's been acting up and I just can't seem to fix it. Would you mind taking a look? Please, my lovely family, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you won't ever miss the next thrilling story coming up next. It was a simple request, and Lily knew he was no stranger to asking for help with small tasks like this. But today, as she stepped outside to help him, something felt different. The usual small talk seemed to falter, replaced by a quiet heaviness in the air between them. As Lily crouched down to inspect the broken faucet, Alex lingered nearby, his gaze drifting toward the garden. The silence stretched for a few moments before he spoke again, his voice softer, more vulnerable than usual. "I don't know if you've noticed," he began, his words slow, as if testing the waters, "but it's been hard for me. Ever since Mary passed. It's been a struggle, you know. Sometimes I don't even know what to do with myself anymore. I spend most days just waiting for something to change, to give me some kind of hope again. But I don't know how to ask for it." Lily paused, her hands still on the faucet, the weight of his words sinking into the quiet afternoon. She looked at him, really looked at him for the first time in a long time. His usual smile was there, faint but present, but she's eyes were different. There was an underlying sadness, a deep yearning that she hadn't fully seen before. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "I'm just so lonely, Lily. It's been years since Mary's passing, and I keep thinking it'll get easier, but it doesn't. I've been craving someone to talk to, someone to just share the silence with. I never realized how much I needed that, but I'm not sure how to make that happen. People don't really know how to help with something like that, do they?" Lily swallowed, unsure of what to say. She could hear the raw vulnerability in his voice, something she hadn't heard before. Her heart softened, but there was also a knot forming in her stomach, an unfamiliar tension. She'd always felt sorry for him, of course, but this felt different. This wasn't just an older man asking for help with a faucet. This was something far more intimate, something far more complicated. As she spoke, trying to comfort him, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was inching closer to something deeper, something unspoken. I think people just don't know what to say sometimes. But I'm here, Alex. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm happy to listen." He looked at her then, and his gaze was intense, searching. There was a warmth in his smile, but those eyes betrayed a deeper yearning, one that wasn't just for company, but for something more. "Lily, you don't know how much that means to me," he said quietly. "I don't want to make things awkward, but He stopped himself, looking away, his voice trailing off. "I don't want to be alone anymore." The words hung in the air like a heavy fog. Lily felt the weight of them, pressing against her chest. She realized, with a sudden clarity, that Alex's loneliness had turned into something more, something that was now aimed squarely at her. This wasn't just a plea for company. It was a silent admission of desire, of wanting a connection that ran deeper than either of them could have anticipated. Her mind raced, but her heart knew what she felt: empathy, certainly, but also something else, something she wasn't sure how to define. Was it a pity? Or was it the beginning of something unexpected, something that neither of them could fully understand? The thought made her uneasy, but there was also a strange sense of comfort in it. In a way, she could understand his need. She, too, had experienced moments of loneliness, moments where the weight of the world felt too heavy to bear alone. Still, Lily couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that this connection was more than just simple kindness. It wasn't just about helping a neighbor anymore. Alex wasn't just looking for someone to fix a faucet. He was looking for something else entirely, something she wasn't sure she could give. But in that moment, with the afternoon light fading behind them, Lily realized that she was already more involved than she ever intended to be. The line between friendship and something more had already blurred. What started as a small act of kindness had grown into something far more complex. In the days that followed, Alex continued to reach out to Lily. It started with small, seemingly harmless requests, asking her to pick up a few things from the store or needing help with fixing a broken door handle. Each time, Lily found herself spending more time at his house, offering a listening ear, fixing things, offering whatever comfort she could. At first, she didn't think much of it. She was just being a good neighbor, just helping someone who had no one else to turn to. But soon, the nature of their interactions began to change. Their conversations grew longer, more personal. They would sit on Alex's porch together, sipping iced tea while discussing everything from the weather to life's deepest struggles. Alex seemed to open up to her more and more each time, speaking not just about his late wife, but about his fears, his regrets, and his growing sense of isolation. The small acts of kindness Lily offered, fixing a faucet, helping him rearrange furniture, became moments where he let his guard down and shared his vulnerabilities. Lily began to feel something shift between them. It wasn't just neighborly help anymore. Alex started relying on her emotionally in ways she hadn't expected. He was no longer just a lonely man seeking companionship, seemed to be confiding in her, as though she were the only person who understood his pain. And with each conversation, Lily felt a deepening emotional bond, one that felt both comforting and unnerving. One afternoon, as they were sitting together on his porch, the conversation took an unexpected turn. Alex looked at her for a long moment before speaking, his voice lower than usual. "Lily," he began, his eyes filled with something she hadn't seen before. "I never thought I'd say this, but you've become such an important part of my life these past few weeks. More than just a neighbor, more than just a friend." Lily's heart skipped a beat. She had been feeling it tooth shift in their relationship, but hearing him say it out loud made everything suddenly real. She could feel the weight of his words, the tension hanging in the air like an unspoken truth. "Alex, I'm glad I can be here for you," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady, but even to her own ears, she sounded unsure. "I know I've been relying on you a lot lately," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "but I can't help it. You've been so kind, and I feel like I've known you for years. I've been so lonely, Lily, so very lonely. And now, with you, I feel something I can't ignore anymore." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Lily didn't know how to respond. She felt a rush of emotion, sympathy for his pain, guilt for what was beginning to feel like something more, and an unsettling sense of confusion. Was he truly looking for companionship, or was there something deeper in his longing? Alex was looking at her with such intensity now, his hand resting on the arm of the chair next to hers. The proximity between them suddenly felt too close, the air thick with unspoken feelings. She could sense the yearning in his eyes, a longing she hadn't known how to name before, but now it was undeniable. He wasn't just lonely, he was looking for something more. Lily's mind raced, torn between two opposing forces. She had been so focused on helping Alex, on being there for him, that she hadn't fully realized just how much of herself she had started to give. She wanted to help him. She wanted to be the person he turned to offer him comfort, and to ease his pain. But at the same time, she felt a gnawing discomfort deep inside. What had started as an innocent act of kindness now felt like a delicate balance between helping a grieving man and protecting herself from being drawn into something much more complicated. She swallowed hard, struggling to find the right words. "Alex," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly, "I care about you, I really do. But I need you to understand something." She hesitated, unsure if she was ready to confront the truth that was beginning to emerge between them. I can't be the one to fill the void you're feeling. I want to help, but I can't give you what you're looking for. Not like that. Alex's expression faltered, his face a mixture of sadness and surprise. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, he said quickly, pulling his hand back. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with all this loneliness. I don't know how to fix it. Lily felt a pang of sympathy, but also a rising sense of guilt. She wasn't sure what had caused the tension between them to snap at that moment, but she realized just how deep Alex's feelings for her had grown. What started as a genuine attempt to help someone in need had slowly turned into a tangled web of emotions, one that neither of them seemed prepared to unravel. She had to make a choice whether to continue offering the comfort Alex sought, knowing it was taking them down an emotional path neither of them had planned for, or to distance herself to protect both of them from something that might ultimately hurt them both. As Lily sat there, looking at Alex, she understood that no matter what she decided, the balance between kindness and something deeper had already shifted. What had once been simple was now complicated, and she wasn't sure how to navigate the growing emotional chasm between them. It was another quiet afternoon when everything changed. Lily had stopped by Alex's house once again to help him with a minor repair. But today, something felt different in the air, thicker, somehow, as if the weight of the unspoken words between them was pressing down on both of them. As they sat together on his porch afterward, sipping lemonade, the conversation drifted to deeper waters, as it often had lately. But today, Alex's tone was softer, more intimate than usual. I don't know if I've told you this enough, Lily, Alex began, his voice low, but you've really been a lifeline for me these past few weeks. I've never been able to talk to anyone like this. And it feels like you really see me, you know? Not just an old man asking for favors or someone's burden. Lily felt a small pang in her chest as she listened. She knew he was struggling, knew how much he depended on her for emotional support. But today, the words cut deeper, and she felt the vulnerability in his voice like never before. She shifted in her chair, unsure of how to respond. But Alex continued, almost as though he couldn't stop himself. I've been alone for so long, Lily, he confessed, his gaze searching hers. And I know I'm not a young man anymore, but when I'm with you, I don't feel so invisible. I don't know if I'm just fooling myself, but I feel something when I'm around you. Something more than just friendship. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She had sensed the shift in his feelings, but hearing him say it so openly made her heart race. She felt a twinge of discomfort, mixed with something else quiet, stirring she couldn't quite place. She wasn't sure if it was just pity or something else entirely, but the sincerity in Alex's voice made her question her own feelings. I'm not asking for anything, Lily, Alex added quickly, his voice softening. I just needed to tell you how much you've meant to me. I don't expect you to feel the same, but I think you're more than just a friend to me. Lily's heart began to pound in her chest. She hadn't expected this conversation to take such a turn. She felt a deep empathy for Alex, but she also felt something else, a flicker of attraction, something that unsettled her. She had always seen him as a kindly, older man, someone to offer support to. But now, as she looked at him, she noticed how his eyes softened when they met hers, how the curve of his lips seemed to carry a weight of unspoken emotions. There was a moment of silence between them, as if both were waiting for the other to speak. Lily opened her mouth, then closed it again, unsure of what to say. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she spoke, her voice unsteady but soft. Alex, too, not sure what to say. I care about you, I do, but I never thought of you like that. I never thought it could be more than just helping you through something. Alex reached out, his hand brushing against hers in a gesture so gentle that it sent a chill down her spine. I'm not asking you to change anything, he said quietly. I just wanted to be honest with you. I can't keep pretending that I don't feel this connection between us. Lily stared at his hand for a moment, the warmth of his touch lingering even after it had retreated. She felt her heart beat faster, unsure of the emotions swirling inside her. There was a pull between them, an undeniable force that was suddenly impossible to ignore. What began as a simple gesture of compassion soon became an encounter charged with unexpected longing. In the quiet of her home, Lily felt something shift, not just in Alex, but in herself. She found herself drawn to him in a way she hadn't anticipated. She had come to help him, to offer kindness, but now she felt caught in a web of feelings she wasn't ready for. Her instincts told her to pull back, to put up walls, but the connection between them was undeniable. There was tenderness in his touch, a vulnerability in his words that made her heart ache for him. Before she fully understood what was happening, the moment between them felt like it was slipping into something deeper. They were no longer just two people sitting on a porch. Something had shifted, a crack in the foundation of their relationship that was now widening with each passing second. "I don't know what I'm doing," Lily whispered, her voice breaking the silence. "But I feel something too. I can't explain it. I don't want to hurt you." Alex's gaze softened, and he gently cupped her face with his hand, tilting her head so their eyes met. "You won't hurt me, Lily," he said with quiet certainty. "You never have. I just need you to know what I feel." And in that moment, Lily felt her world tilt, her emotions rushing through her like a torrent she couldn't control. She leaned forward, and before she could stop herself, her lips met his in a tentative kiss. It was a kiss of both longing and uncertainty, a kiss that was tender but fraught with the complexity of what it signified. The kiss lasted only a few seconds, but in that time, everything changed. The space between them had closed, the emotional distance had disappeared. But with that closeness came a new kind of confusion. As they pulled apart, neither of them knew what to say. There was a new intimacy between them, but it was laced with hesitation. Lily stepped back slightly, her heart racing. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said softly, almost to herself. Alex's voice was equally quiet, his expression unreadable. "Neither did I, but here we are." In the days that followed, the weight of what had occurred between them lingered like a shadow, stretching over everything they did. The encounter had left them both in a state of emotional disarray. While they had shared something tender, something meaningful, there was also a deep uncertainty about where their relationship now stood. For Lily, the lines between friendship and something more had blurred completely. She found herself questioning everything, whether their bond was truly based on something deeper, or if it had simply been an escape from the loneliness that both of them had been craving. Was this real? Or had they both been searching for comfort in the wrong places, each trying to fill a void that could never truly be filled by one another? Alex seemed affected too, but in a way that left him just as uncertain. The tenderness was still there, but so was the doubt. Neither of them could answer the questions that had surfaced so suddenly. They had stepped into unknown territory, and now they had to figure out whether they were ready to walk that path, or if the emotions they had shared were nothing more than a fleeting moment of escape. As the days passed, Lily and Alex found themselves in a strange, unspoken rhythm. It wasn't easy, nor was it without its complications, but somehow, they began to adjust to this new dynamic that had emerged between them. The boundaries that had once seemed so clear between a young woman and an elderly neighbor had blurred, and now they were navigating uncharted emotional terrain. Alex was still the man who had lost his wife, still the widower who had carried the weight of solitude for so many years. Lily, too, still had her own struggles, the quiet hum of her independent life, the weight of empathy she felt for Alex, and the ache of the intimacy they had shared. But they were both learning how to balance the emotional comfort they offered each other with the limits they each needed to set for their own well-being. There were moments when Lily would walk away from Alex's house, feeling both fulfilled and unsettled at the same time. She had been there for him when he needed someone, and in turn, he had shown her a side of herself she hadn't expected to explore. But even with the quiet comfort of their connection, there was an underlying sense of caution. They both knew that something had shifted between them, but whether it was something that could last or something that had merely filled a temporary void, neither of them had the answers. They began to talk more openly about their needs and their limitations. Alex no longer asked her for help with every small chore. Instead, Their conversations focused on the bigger picture, on the loneliness they both carried, on the healing they had yet to do. Alex spoke of his wife's memory with tenderness, but also with a quiet acceptance that she was gone, and he was left to find his own way forward. Please, my beloved family, don't forget to subscribe so that you won't miss the next upcoming story. Lily, in turn, spoke more openly about her own life. She shared her fears, her uncertainties, and even her long-held desire to connect more deeply with others. But the deeper she ventured into these conversations, the more she realized how much she had been holding back. Her initial fears of stepping into a place she wasn't prepared for began to fade, replaced with an understanding of what they had: two people who, despite their differences in age and experience, were able to meet each other at a time when they both needed it most. Their connection was not simply about physical attraction or fleeting moments of intimacy. It was about the silent understanding that passed between them, the shared recognition of the loneliness they both knew too well. They were two people finding solace in each other, filling the empty spaces that had grown over years of isolation. It wasn't about solving all their problems or erasing the pain of the past. It was about accepting one another, flaws and all, and finding healing in a way neither of them expected. One evening, after a long conversation that had stretched well into the night, Lily sat alone in her living room, reflecting on everything that had transpired between them. What began as a simple favor had turned into something far deeper, something she hadn't anticipated. The act of helping a neighbor had brought them both to a place of profound emotional intimacy, a connection that went beyond friendship, beyond mere companionship. In the quiet of her thoughts, Lily realized that their bond wasn't about the time they spent together or the things they had shared. It wasn't about the brief moments of physical closeness that had once surprised them both. It was about how they had healed each other. It was about how they had become mirrors for one another, showing each other parts of themselves they hadn't known existed, offering each other the comfort and connection they had both been craving. She thought about how Alex had changed since they first met, how the sadness that had once seemed to define him had softened over time, replaced with a sense of acceptance and hope. And she thought about how she, too, had been transformed. She no longer saw herself as the young woman who had simply helped an older man through his loneliness. She saw herself as someone who had given and received something real, something powerful. In the end, Lily knew that it wasn't about age or timing. It was about two people coming together when they both needed it most. There would always be questions, doubts, and uncertainties. But the emotional connection they had forged was real, and it was built on something much stronger than convenience or temporary comfort. Sometimes, in the darkest corners of loneliness, solace is found in the most unexpected places. And while they still didn't know exactly where their relationship would go, they understood something far more important sometimes. Kindness isn't just about giving. It's about opening yourself to the unexpected, to the healing power of human connection. And in that quiet, shared space between them, they both found something precious they had almost given up on: hope. As we come to the end of this emotional journey, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Lily made the right choice in opening up to Alex? Was their bond a genuine connection, or do you think she may have crossed a line? We know this story brings up a lot of questions about human connection, loneliness, and the choices we make when helping others. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's dive into a deep conversation about the complexities of relationships. If you found this emotionally charged story compelling, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more heartwarming tales and thought-provoking narratives. We've got many more stories that explore the power of kindness, healing, and unexpected connections. For more stories about life-changing moments and unexpected bonds, check out our other videos, where a simple act of kindness leads to life-altering consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're always in the loop when we release new content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.